Okay, welcome back. I'm truly pleased to start this next section of our conference of Quantum-Latino by introducing Professor Marcelo Terra, who is he's a full professor of mathematical physics, um, and he holds a PhD in physics as well as an MSc in physics, a BSc in physics, um, awarded by the State University of Campinas. I hopefully have said it rightly, and he'll talk about QuiNTec towards a roadmap. Okay, so hold on, just here we are. Marcelo, thank you very much for accepting our invitation. You are most welcome. We are thrilled to have you around us, to have among us. So go ahead. I'll pass it on to you.
Thank you very, very much, Salvador. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you for the invitation for you and Araceli. And it's a great pleasure to be here. I hope it's a good time to discuss the quantum steps in Latin America. So let me start sharing a presentation with the audience and trying to say what I have to say here. Okay, if I find okay, here it is. And now presentation mode. So as Salvador already said, I'm here to talk about QuiNTec, that's a shortening for quantum information technologies, towards a roadmap, because we are working for writing a roadmap for quantum information technologies, especially based at São Paulo. São Paulo is a state in Brazil, a powerful, economically powerful state in Brazil, and we believe that we have this necessity of making things happen here, but we do want to have an impact to be integrated with Brazil and Latin America. We repeat it every time. So the intention is really to focus on what we can do from São Paulo, but not only to São Paulo. We do want to have impact worldwide, but with a special taste to Brazil and Latin America in general. So before saying things about QuiNTec itself, let me talk a little bit about myself, how I happen to be speaking here in the name of QuiNTec. So I work at State University of Campinas at a group that we call Mathematical Foundations of Quantum Theory. And our main topics in research are non-locality, Bell non-locality in the sense, contextuality, that is a generalization of Bell non-locality concerning the question, what is really non-classical that we can do with quantum theory, and quantum correlations in general. So I do it at Unicamp, as already mentioned, that is this beautiful place here. So I'm just inside one of those buildings at this moment. And if you want, you can find more in our webpage or in our Twitter account. Some other two things that I'm involved with, and I think it's very important to announce here because more people can engage, more people can be interested in playing a role on this, are this initiative of the World Quantum Day. I hope you were reached by the idea that we had this last April 14, the first commemoration, the first celebration of the World Quantum Day. And in the year before, we had the pre-announcement. The number 0 happened in 2021, the first World Quantum Day at 22 this year. And it's a network of representatives of each country. So few countries in Latin America have representatives at this moment. So in case you want to join the initiative that essentially wants to spread the word of quantum around the world with many different intentions, but usually related to this dissemination, to this scientific dissemination. So just call me or get in contact directly with the World Quantum Day in general, the general coordination that happens in Portugal. But feel free to contact me. I am the representative in Brazil. And essentially, because of the starting of the World Quantum Day that we made a little bit more than a year ago, we start this quantum chat, would be the English translation of bate-papo quântico. If you understand Portuguese, please go to YouTube, search for bate-papo quântico, and after having the video, tell me the problems that you see in our bate-papo. So, and of course, if you also speak Portuguese, you can become invited to be part of some bate-papo quântico at some moment in time. So now the team, the central team of our chat, of this lecture, the initiative QuInTec. So let me start for something that we can call the problem. So if we go not many years back in time, so this figure comes from 2015, so it was published in this The Economist quarterly that I believe was 2018. But if you see here, Brazil appeared in this map of investments in quantum science in general, but also towards quantum technology. And you can see that we were not that different from Poland, Finland, South Korea. So relevant players were at the same level of us. And the most important point, we appeared on the map. And when QRECA prepared their map, Brazil disappeared. And of course, I'm not saying this is a problem of QRECA. No way. The problem comes from Brazil, that investment ceased essentially, and not completely ceased, but when all the other players start really investing much more, Brazil invested less and become noisy in the signal of investments, especially in quantum technology itself. So we here, those 6 guys, started some discussions. You can see that some of them are not that happy, but the situation is really difficult in our country. But despite of this, we decided that we should make things work. We should start moving different engines that we could make move and try to have some important advances towards an initiative, a formal initiative of quantum technologies. As I said before, focused on our state, essentially in the sense that we have a powerful agency of founding science here that is called FAPESP. Possibly many of you know about it. And we do believe that FAPESP should lead this initiative, this idea of making quantum technologies happen inside Brazil, especially from São Paulo. And our journey starts on this 17 August 2020, when we had a first Zoom meeting. It's not exactly when the picture was taken. This is a later one, but we have many different pictures took around the journey. And a few months after, we wrote what we call the white paper of this initiative. So it's simply what we were desiring to do, what we see as a necessity to be done. If you want to check our white paper, you can visit our webpage. It's not a fantastic webpage, it's just a temporary one, but some info is there, including this white paper. And we had a first conversation with the governance of FAPESP, also in October 20. And this conversation was good. They essentially agreed with the importance of the point, but did not immediately took the idea of they should lead the efforts. They already included us in some trials, I would say, and we are working for having a better development of everything that comes under these initiatives. So we made a workshop, an interesting workshop in the end of the year, by December 10, 2020, that naturally was a remote one, but with interesting participations, interesting talks. And we saw that many things should be done in order to really have an impactful initiative here in Brazil. So another year comes, and one interesting point is that FAPESP itself put quantum technology as the theme for one of its events, the events that they already were organizing, so for just discussing stuff. And they called us essentially to help them in organizing this. So this is clearly a way of saying they like what they heard. They want to see more things happening before really leading the process. And in the following month, we decided that we need to include more people and to have these 6 task forces. The number 6 in part come from the number of people we had in our original group, the 6 guys that you have seen. So each of us was the leader of one team like this. And clearly, if we want technology to happen, we need engineers. One of the defects in that group that I showed you in the beginning is that basically everyone there is a physicist. And we do understand that one of the beautiful points in quantum nowadays is that it's not something that belongs to physicists anymore. It's really something that should include computer science, that should call engineers in general to work with. So we had this special task force for quantum engineering, another for quantum communications. Of course, we need one for quantum computing, but let me advance that one of the things that we concluded in this process of preparing the roadmap, where we interviewed many different players, called many different people to discuss, to point our ideas, to listen their ideas, to learn from them, is that in Brazil, we do think that censoring is one of the most important investments to be done, and communications are another important area of this quantum technological second revolution that we are having now. Of course, quantum computing cannot be we cannot forget about quantum computing, but probably it's much more important to invest in the other 2 segments, and of course in algorithms for quantum computing, than in hardware for quantum computing. We do want to have investments in hardware for sensing, for communications, but for computation, it cannot be the best investment to do nowadays. This other group that I'm calling here societal challenge is really related to the idea of bringing quantum to the community, to the large society, and to prepare the society for the quantum revolution, which means many different things at the same time. One of them is that we need to have the next generation of scientists and technicians to work to develop the technologies and all that should be done to allow the quantum technologies to really be developed. But also we have to prepare society to understand what quantum technologies is about, what quantum technologies are not about, and all of this is a huge task also to be done, a challenge and that's the reason of using challenge in the name of the task force. And back to sensing, we divided into two different groups with different targets of applications, essentially of sensing. But of course, other technologies also can appear there. But we do think that agriculture is something that we have to focus because of the importance of Brazil in the world industry of agriculture, and applications for health in all the sense, health from environment to human and animal beings. So all of these applications to health is also something that we should focus, with the advantage that this is an international market. So solutions that are found in Brazil can be used everywhere. And this is an important reason also to play with this task. So another thing that we had that is a consequence of this task force of quantum engineering was that they organized a quantum engineering workshop. And you can find this in YouTube. Again, it essentially happened in Portuguese. So I'm not sure if essentially or totally, but if you understand Portuguese, you can see what we were discussing there. And to finish the last year, we had more conversations with FAPESP, and things evolved a little bit, and a meeting of all the task forces for people not to feel that they were alone. And this was also quite revigorating in the sense that if we started with those 6 guys, now we were more than 40 really using some part of their time to make this initiative happen. So this is how things scale, and we think we are doing good in this direction. And one guy that was a member of the engineering task force was promoted to our committee, in the sense that one of the members of our committee became a vice rector of research in his university, University of São Paulo. So since he would have less time to share with us, we called one engineer that helps us in solving the problem of being too many physicists talking about technologies. So now we have at least one engineer in the coordination group. But of course, this is also important in the sense of including more people and approaching the targets that we still have. So present tasks, what we are doing this year, we are preparing next year in a sense, but we do have a date for delivering the roadmap. That is February 17 next year. This will be the launching of the roadmap that will happen during an event, a 3-week event that is dedicated to the revision and final writing of the roadmap itself. So we have still few places. If some of you do believe that you can help us in this task, it will be a small event in a small place, but a very intense one. And as I said, we still have some openings if you really want to work towards this roadmap. Just make a contact with me. I'll be happy in answering. And during all these years, but especially now, we are essentially simulating the ecosystem. We do believe that we have to build it, in a sense, from almost nothing in advance, but with important starting points that are related to the capacity of the Brazilian economy to react, and the scientists that we have here that were obtained by long time investment in quantum science especially, and now we want to give this step from science to technology. And one interesting point, essentially led by Ben-Nur, that I introduced in the last slide, is the proposal of what's called a certificate, that is a special uh, way of having the engineering diploma. So they can have a specified trip or track in their undergrad course that we are proposing now, that Ben-Nur is proposing. We are helping him in making the best proposal. And this must start in the second term of 2023. And this we also believe will help a lot to be the first step towards a quantum engineering idea and a quantum engineering preparation of next generations. So I said this in the beginning, and I said that I would repeat it many times. I really want to stress that our roadmap is focused at São Paulo because it's where we see that we have power to act directly, but we do not want to have it just for São Paulo or just São Paulo looking towards big players and etc. No, we want to be integrated, and we want to have help, and we want to help every other state in Brazil and every other country in Latin America. So please feel free to contact us. We are sure that we still have a long journey ahead, and it's better to have it with friends and with a roadmap. So now I'm here to discuss with you whatever you want.
Okay, thank you very much for your very interesting talk. And now I would like to know if you have any questions. Um, Feel free to type them either on the chat in the chat, sorry, or the questions and answers section. Well, meanwhile, yes. Meanwhile, I would like to ask you about the. I mean, basically, in your opinion, in your view, what's the foreseeable future for investments, either from the public sector or the private sector, in the specific programs in quantum technology in Brazil?
Okay, we are starting to have interesting companies that are really making first contacts towards interesting investments. So we do believe that when we launch the roadmap, it will not be only a roadmap of desires. It will be something based on things that are being really developed in the sense of, okay, it will be important to have this and that kind of investments, and the investors will be this and that, or at least the first investors will be this and that. And we are really happy with the results that we already have during this year in this sense of bringing people to discuss and to make things possible.
Okay, thank you very much. We got a question by Araceli Venegas Gomez. She's asking the following: Marcelo, then the first numbers you showed from 2019 for Brazil were correct in your opinion?
I think yes, but in the sense that they were using numbers from investment in science, especially because here in Brazil, I should have included this in the presentation. It could be a good idea. We have some interesting history of big founding that starts in the change of the last millennium to this millennium with something called Millennium Project that was money from International Bank and the World Bank, and it was created in quantum information. This was the theme at that time. And it was renewed. That was almost a joke in the sense that we have the second Millennium Project. And after this, Brazil had one moment of big investment in science in general when they were created something about 100 of different National Institute of Science and Technologies. One of them was in quantum information. And again, this was a long time project that was renewed some once in a time. So we had this almost 20 years of a sequence of big investments in having groups. It's called institute, but it's a virtual institute in some sense. People work in their universities or institutes, but they make a network that have money from these national investments, and it worked quite well in the sense of strengthening the community, to make the community much bigger and much powerful. So I do believe that those numbers make sense if we just consider the money from public investments. But private money was very rare up until few years ago towards quantum technologies in general terms.
I see. Thank you very much. We have one more question by Kevin Kochak. Please forgive me, Kevin, if I'm mispronouncing your surname. Hopefully I did it right. As for more hardware rental options appear, how can programmers make the most informed choice?
Okay, that's an important question, and we have to prepare them to make the good choices, for sure. This is something included in that task force that I put as societal challenges, that we have to make people able of choosing. And this is one of the beautiful points at something that is just raising now. We have this competition, or many different competitions, the competition for best platform to implement, but also the competition to what will be the best language to use to program quantum computers, and etc. And clearly we have no complete answer yet, but it's a very important question.
Okay, well, Marcelo, thank you very much indeed for this great talk, for the answers you have provided with the also very interesting questions presented by the audience, by members of the audience. So it's been a pleasure, and see you around.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now, as for the audience, please let's get to the virtual space in which Professor Eduardo Gomez shall deliver a talk about the Mexican Quantum Technologies Initiative. See you there in a couple of minutes. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.